Here I'm going to show you how to do a banded trunk rotation exercise at home or on the go. These band exercises will never quite be as able to target the muscles that the machines that I have in here can target. But if you do a good job of learning how to do these on the machines in here, then you can kind of, bag that idea up and the sensations that you get and what you're thinking about and the muscles you're using and try to apply it to this, and it'll give you some benefit as opposed to no benefit if you're doing nothing. So if you grab a band, one of these bands with two handles on it like this, and then you're going to want to attach it around something that's going to be at about your chest height when you're kneeling down. So this would be at about my chest height. Then you take the band and you loop it through itself so that it's tied off onto whatever that thingy is. Then in this example, I'm going to be doing a right trunk rotation. I'm going to put my right foot down out in front of me with my knee in front of me. I'm going to grab the band with my right hand first and then secure it with my left hand, so I've got both hands on there. You just don't want to do left hand first because then your right hand doesn't really have much to grab onto. Like so. And then you want to find an amount of scooting away from where the band is attached to where the tension feels, substantial enough to get some work out of you. And what I want you to notice here, and you should be able to see, is that the angle of the band relative to the angle of me is when I'm in the middle, we've got a not 90-degree angle here. And when I rotate back to the beginning, we've got a 90-degree angle between the angle of this band and the angle of my chest. So if I had a little stick running out from my chest to where the handle is, then that's going to be a 90-degree angle when I'm rotated back to the beginning of the movement. And then as I rotate through it, that angle gets more acute until that band runs along my arm. So what you want to think about here is almost as though you have something to push your knee into here, which is going to help us keep this side of your pelvis forward as we rotate. So we want to make sure we're keeping that forward and across as we then rotate our rib cage on top of it, and we're not just kind of letting everything, it's an exaggeration, it probably won't look like that, but this idea of kind of turning my whole body instead of keeping that pelvis secured forward and then just turning my rib cage on top of that fixed pelvis, similar to these trunk rotation machines in here. Obviously, to make it harder, you just scoot a little further away. Easier, a little bit closer. But what you want to make sure of is that as best you can, you've got some tension on the band when you're back at the beginning of the rotational movement. When you're back, so in this example, I'm rotating to the right, so when I'm all the way back to the left, we've got this 90-degree angle here, and there's still some tension on the band, so I have to work through the movement, contracting my obliques and my core and my abs the whole time. With these band exercises, you're always going to have to spend a little more time focusing on what you're using inside of you in order to perform the movement. If you just kind of move back and forth, you can do that with pretty much anything, as opposed to some of these machines where you can really get away with just push here, and then the muscles work the way we want them to. Here you need to get really good at, I'm trying to use these in order to spin myself. And another important thing to pay attention to is that I'm not moving the band by moving my arms. Obviously my arms move in space, but because they're attached to my rib cage and everything moves together. So I'm not allowing my hands to move anywhere beyond straight out in front of my chest. What often happens is people get to the end of the movement and then they'll do this little bit of extra arm stuff. That's not what we want because that takes tension off of the muscles in question. So what we want to try and do is just, as soon as we get into our starting position here in the middle, this relationship of where my hands are in front of my chest never changes. Everything is exactly the same. I'm just moving through my spine and my rib cage, trying to turn the band this way, not by doing this with my chest staying stationary, but also we want to make sure that we're not just turning the chest with the hands not coming with. It's all one solid unit, turning this way, securing the pelvis forward, like so, as though there's something you can push your leg into right here. If you can set yourself up with some sort of a couch or something in the way or whatever it might be, that'll give you even more of a reference of how to push there. But if you can just imagine there's something here that should be good enough for you to just keep it here so that you can then twist nice and smoothly back and forth, like so. This would be how you set up a banded trunk rotation exercise at home or on the go. All right, so I just wanted to tap this on the end of the video a little bit to give you a better idea of some of those setup angles that we want. So I've got my band here attached off to the side, and what I want you to notice is that, see if I can get this all set up, is that when I'm set up in the beginning of the movement, when I'm all the way rotated back to the left, in this case still rotating to the right, you can kind of see this angle of where my chest is pointing being a 90-degree angle to where the band is running. Another way to check that is the plane of this band and the direction it's going should be kind of the plane of your shoulders, but this 90-degree angle is often a better way to kind of visualize that. So then I've got my hand securing it as I rotate back to the beginning, 90 degrees, and then as I rotate through, we've got a much more acute angle running here of the band running up alongside my arm. So in the beginning, I'm back at this 90-degree angle when I'm rotated all the way to the left as I start my rotation to the right with enough tension on the band to where it feels like it's going to be some work. I'm going to just scoot back a little bit so you can maybe see that a little bit better. Right there. So in the beginning of the movement, 90 degrees, and then as I rotate through the movement from the 90-degree position, that angle gets more acute. Again, not letting the arms move, but making sure that as we are all squared and centered, and then we start by rotating back to the left, we've got that 90-degree angle, and then we rotate through this way. That should hopefully make it a little bit more easily visible. I'll do it this way too, just in case it gives some more insight. Like so. We've got our left hand going to the left now. So as I start my movement, by going back to the beginning, I've got this 90-degree angle between the band and my chest. And then as I rotate through, that angle gets much more acute, not letting my pelvis fly open as I turn. I'm kind of securing that forward and just spinning that rib cage on top of the fixed pelvis from the beginning of the movement. You can always check and kind of rotate yourself around a little bit so that you've got that 90 degree. Like when I started this one, I was a little bit obtuse here. It's not quite 90 degrees. So if I then just spin my lower body a little bit, then as I come back now, I'm at that 90-degree position, and then I can commence with that movement, contracting all the right muscles and moving the rib cage with the arms fixed to it. Nothing moves without everything else moving, but that setup idea is really important in terms of the angles, which is why I wanted to tap this little extra bit on the end of which angles you're trying to set it up at, a little bit more of a visual.